You know what? We just concluded a different sort of a rim pack that we haven't had for a while. And it just dawned on me when I was waiting to get in touch with Riki Ellison from the Missile Defense Advocacy Alliance is that, we got the 19th anniversary of 9/11 coming up. And if there was ever a time to reflect and find out how we are as far as defending ourselves from that kind of attack ever happening again, it makes me just so grateful that we can reach out and get Riki at these times. And let me tell you something. Riki's going through a lot right now. It is so difficult to travel for everybody and so hard to keep your feet on the ground and keep mission oriented. And that's exactly what they're doing over there. So we have a few minutes to spend with Riki because he's not practicing for football because there's not much football going on. We'll talk about that too. But Riki joins us, the founder of the MDAA. Riki, another successful rim pack despite all of the precautions that we're taking here on land. Good morning to you, my friend. How you doing?
Oh, aloha, Mike. Hey, it was a great rim pack. I think it was probably one of the most important ones since they've done since 1971, where they grouped the winners, their best allies, and what they do best, which is on the surface, in the water, and bringing those fleets in to bound them up and fight together, exercise together, and make a statement together. And this is specifically, I think, to deter the China aggression that we're seeing across the Indo-Pacific region. So I thought it was so important for us to do.
What I've been very impressed about, Riki, is what you've been saying all along. But it seems like one by one, these partner nations have realized, all right, we do need to have a terrific offensive retaliatory force or whatever. But what we really need is, linked together, scientifically hooked up with the defense. And isn't it sort of ironic that RIMPAC was held under trying circumstances, and here we
Absolutely.
are looking at the 19th anniversary of 9/11. How important is that to realize how important the big deal
Well,
is?
it's huge. It's huge for the stability of the world. It's huge for the coronavirus. It's huge for our country to go forward in getting that partnership and trust and that relationship even tighter. Under stressful times, you become closer. Your friends become closer. You become bonded. And I think this is what's happening. We can't fight or we can't deter these big powers around the world by ourselves anymore. We have to have our partners. And we have to have the solid ones in Japan, Korea, Australia, that were there in force in the Navy aspect of it for that RIMPAC.
I want to tell you, one of the things that I was particularly impressed about with Secretary Mark Esper, talking about, the Japan Defense Minister Taro Kono and all of that stuff. And it is unbelievable the stress that's put out there. But you're right. And maybe you can also talk about how difficult it is on a daily basis for you all to go about your business because of this coronavirus and what travel restrictions it puts on all of you.
Well, we all got to go through it. You have to go through it, and you have to stay positive through it. I know it's hard for all of us with the negativity and the solemnness of death and disease, but we as a human race have to go through it, and we have to go through it the best we can on every day that we go forward. I do want to make just a statement that Secretary of Defense Mark Esper was in Hawaii, as you know, but he also visited the Aegis Ashore site over in Kauai, which is huge. Okay,
Yeah.
You understand that implication there with him, the Secretary of Defense, in that little island that we've always, been so proud of what they've done to make the Pacific safe by doing the testing and development of weapon systems there to defend and deny these threats their ability to wage on us. So he was there, made a personal visit. And that system is the one we're talking about going into Japan. As you know, they're looking at redoing it in some capacity way to make that right. It's the system that's in Romania and Poland. And it's most likely going to be the system that's going to be going in Guam. And it could be the system that's going to be going throughout the United States for the underlayer. Guess where it's been developed? Right there, Mike.
Right there. And you know what?
We've seen it since day one there, man.
I know. It's really, and I hear from a lot of friends, oh, yeah, we have that missile thing on Kauai somewhere. I don't know exactly what it is. You hear that a lot. But here is Mark Esper there, and he said he was the one that was pointing out, and I got this off the MDA website, gang. You can get it too. It's a great website. They're doing a lot of good work on it. But it's talking about this region under the Chinese Communist Party. talking about intimidating its neighbors. Look at the show of strength that they've been doing, and all of a sudden, up comes RIMPAC. I think China thought that there wasn't going to be a RIMPAC. Everyone was going to worry about the coronavirus. Instead, it was strong as ever. It just didn't happen to be on shore here on our islands.
But I think there's been a trigger that's pulled. You know, they pulled it with that artificial island that was against the United Nations, against international law. They put it up, and then they militarized it, which they said they weren't going to do. Then they created areas of denial for anybody to go through, and we have been active. The game's on. We have been active in taking that away from them. Those two carriers that were there earlier this year made that a point. So we are coming at them now, because they are trying to take advantage of not just us, but many Pacific nations in the Pacific with the COVID, with financing, with all types of ways where they can shape and own the Pacific. And that's where we've got to hold our status quo.
And you know what, gang? It was something else was going on today, and we're really great to have these few minutes to spend with Riki, because he's got a busy day too. I always get worried when there's a chain of command, and you've been through so many of these in the time of MDA and the development and all the awareness that you give globally to what's going on in missile defense. You have seen a lot of chains of command. What was specifically interesting about today?
Well, today was the change of command right over here. Of the National Capital Region. Mm-hmm. That command for air defense of our capital region came in place at 9/11, because that essentially was a cruise missile attack. If you look at it, the way they did that, and we built an air defense system 360 around Washington, D.C. in our capital to prevent that from ever happening again, with capabilities to negate that. So that change of command, and most change of commands in our country go 2 years apart. So this change of command happened today. I was there, and we changed it from the National Guard, which was Ohio. They called the Ohio Buckeye. Now to the Florida National Guard that's in place. They have cruise missile defense. The only one in our entire military to do 360 capability is based here, and that is something that we're looking at, obviously, because we're going to need to expand that now as our borders, our islands, Alaska. We're getting infringements on our troops overseas, as you've seen that as well. What's the best architecture to do this? So this has done a tremendous effort in keeping our capital safe. Our president, our capital, Pentagon have been safe since 9/11. From that. So that was just was a great.
But I want to talk about, when you talk about these chain of commands and things, it's no, your job is to educate the incoming guys and make evaluations of what you think. And what I think is pretty interesting, at least it is to me, is despite all of the distractions, and when I say the distraction, I mean that very complimentary. We have got a hell of a lot going on. It must be difficult to navigate through all the concerns that we have globally, and then yet, we hope that nobody during all of this virus stuff gets nasty, but they're doing that anyway. Especially look at Iran and look at some of the other things you've been pointing out recently. People flexing their muscles and trying to intimidate us.
You've seen the use of missiles just continue to accelerate. Everybody's using missiles now and rockets. And you can go to Kuwait. You can go to down in Saudi Arabia with their being hit, Israel being hit, Syria being hit. Turkey's firing. I mean, it's just continual proliferation of this capability that's here. But I want to go back to the NCR and these soldiers, just like your soldiers in Hawaii. I mean, National Guard guys that not only had to deal with COVID, but had to deal with their sites that are in the Capitol, with all the protests, all the stuff that's going on right now. And they're able to go through that and keep that region safe through all those distractions that are happening that are part of our democracy to do that. So you don't even foresee these type of challenges that these people have to deal with to be able to make the system work 100% of the time with high reliability.
Hey, I got a really interesting call here from Jennifer. Jennifer says, please ask Ricky how things are doing at some of these bases with regards to the virus. Are these guys and gals being tested? Is it part of their routine right now, in addition to the social distancing? What can you tell us about the behavior of the people that are involved in missile defense?
I just went on a base this morning, and that was, a half hour of going through temperature checks, forms, fill outs. I mean, it's very disciplined on how you even get on a base, and then once you're on the base, you're all masked up, you are following protocol and all the policies that have been put in place to protect everybody the best they can, and that's been strict. We sit apart 6 feet apart, got the masks on, so that we got to play with those rules, and that's what we got to do. But we also are going to have the 82nd Airborne and the 101st Air. They have to fight no matter what it is.
You bet.
They got to go out and fight. So you're seeing that mentality as well. But we are conditioned and playing that on that. So I think we're in a good spot. I think some of the stuff will probably come to ease after the election.
Yeah,
I think some of the stuff will loosen up a little bit, but we're still playing. That's why I go back to you, Mike. The Brim Pack was a perfect example of playing, regardless of what those policies were, and playing well within those laws and within the coronavirus.
Yeah, and
very good.
There are always accusatory fingers being pointed, Ricky, at spending money at a time when you shouldn't. But, here we are coming up on the 19th anniversary of 9/11 at the end of this week. And now, from what I understand, we're going to rename it. It's going to be called Patriots Day. What a great time to realize what our priorities should be. Our health, our families, and due to this pandemic, number one. Number two, protecting our country. And number three, rewarding those that are protecting our country with the recognition they deserve. And that's what you guys do all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this 9/11 puts the emphasis back on protecting U.S. homeland territory. U.S. homeland territory, our way of life here. And I know we spend a lot of our resources, and we have to be outside of our territory to defend our territory. But number one is defending this territory, whether it's corona, whether any intrusions in our borders, across our borders and airspace. And I don't think we spend enough on that. We spend too much on offense and not enough on defense. And you have to have both. You have to have both to win. You can't win just on offense without defending your public. You cannot.
Yeah,
and
there you go.
We got to be stronger on this. This is where the money should be spent. You're testing, you're developing it right there in Kauai for our nation. And we've got the Indo-PACOM going out and protecting us in that area of the Pacific where they have to be defended.
I've learned a little bit, and I'm sure you've seen this yourself. And when you talk to everybody who was here, particularly when Mark Esper was on Kauai, very exciting. The people of Kauai have been waking up for the last decade or so at not just the importance of this place, but how it gives recognition, and more importantly to that struggling economy, a shot in the arm. And I do know that lots and lots of people are just waiting for their opportunity to see that facility, but because of COVID-19, they just can't do that. Hasn't that put an extra job title on you all, Ricky, on getting the word out there, despite the concern that we're spending on the virus and thinking about nothing else in some cases?
But I think there's some synergy there, right? Your tourism is struggled and challenged by the coronavirus lockdown of your state, but you always have had the military infrastructure in your island. You are the point for the country in the Indo-PACOM arena. You are the point against the number one. We're recognized as number one threat to the United States of America's security, which is China. You're the point. So getting capability at the point to develop that, and that includes the PRMF range, but that also includes that radar, the Hawaii radar that they're re-looking at putting back in place on that island and enforcing. Yep. And I think Admiral Davidson's done a great job with the U.S. Congress in getting Indo-PACOM deterrent initiative, additional funding coming into Hawaii, coming into the Pacific to support and grow his deterrent to face a much more futuristic threat than the old stuff that we've got today that is for days of past.
Yeah. Well, I want to tell you, Ricky, whatever we can hook up, we appreciate it. We're going to be going live shortly to a press brief. We've got a lot of stuff coming up here today, but I wanted to make sure to touch bases. I do know that, we're all going to be remembering what happened on Friday, and I think it's an opportune time for people to learn more about this. And I want to compliment your staff, Ricky, because, we talk to them. Everything that you and I do together is last minute. And just a real quick one, they are really, really accommodating. And your website, man, that thing is really cranking. People got to go there and take a look.
What's exciting for you and your audience specifically is that we're going to be hosting Admiral Davidson next Thursday on a virtual discussion on defending the Indo-PACOM region and the challenges that forced missile defense solution. So I think it'd be really interesting for a lot of your audience to tune into that, because he's going to be speaking specifically on the challenges and what are the solutions to make his job of creating security and stability in that region better.
There you go. And hey, we don't have any time to talk about football, which is killing me because I want to do that. But my best to Rhett, and let's hope that these guys stay healthy and we get our sport back pretty soon.
Hey, Mike, I might have to go cheer for Notre Dame now because USC's not playing at all. That's how bad it's got.
Oh, boy. I know that's going to kill you. Hey, Ricky, thanks for joining us, my friend. And as always,
all right, great.
Safe travels, my friend. There you go. Ricky Ellison, the executive director and founder of Missile Defense Advocacy Alliance.